All right, you groovy grasshoppers. It is Thursday, 10 a.m. here in Greenwich, Connecticut. Hello to everybody throughout the universes. What was there, 21 universes or something? No, I can't remember what it was. D-Day today, too. So I think I'm clear on this. D-Day is the day that the Allied forces, including the U.S., stormed the beaches of Normandy, I believe. I believe that's correct. So 80 years ago, 80th anniversary. What a different life we live now, right? Man. What else is going on today? No playoff hockey. I can't remember if they always had like this much time off in between series. I think it's a great idea. I mean, you can obviously in the news longer for the National Hockey League. You guys get to rest up. Hockey would be better. See all the injuries with the New York Rangers they have. How about this stuff with Trouba? Like there's some guy on Spittin' Chicklets carved into Trouba. About Jessica Dennehy. How are you? Magical creature, you. Good morning. So that's also Jessica Dennehy. There's a friend of mine here on Facebook as well. So Dennehy and Dennehy. But some guy Spittin' Chicklets carved into Trouba, talking about how so he's got some he and his wife have something about epilepsy and how it leads to I probably saying it wrong, but they have some foundation regarding epilepsy, how it leads to suicides and everything. And the guy tried to tie in that Trouba was, I don't know, whatever. He was talking about all the head hits and how condescending he is or whatever. I was like, jeez. From Paradise, listen to Boomer and Geo this morning on CBS News, CBS Sports News, and they were talking about the guy's a big Devils fan, so I think that's part of it too. That he's carving into Trouba. Again, coming out with all the injury news that happens every year, especially when you go a fair distance in the playoffs. Fox with his knee, Trouba with the knee as well, I believe. Lindgren with a broken rib or cracked rib or whatever he had. Man, he's a tough kid. Like he always seems like he's always hurt. Just wish he was bigger. But hey, he keeps battling all the time. So I love having one on your team. So a lot of talk about what they'll do with the Rangers next year, if they'll do anything at all. I suspect that something will happen because they got $8 million left under the cap. They got a few guys to sign this year, and then next year is Shesterkin, and he's going to command quite a bit. I mean, the top players in the league are always making like $14 million now. Typically, a goaltender doesn't go that high. He is going to be up there with Connor McDavid, but I mean, Panarin's at 11.5. Again, he was a free agent when he signed here, but still, you can't. I don't think you can argue that Shesterkin, being the best player on the team, most valuable player on the team. So that if I'm his agent, I'm saying, well, if he's the best player, he's going to get paid like the best player. So that means above 11.5. See here, David. Good morning. Very disappointed. Assume hoping New Year be better than one goal. Well, that's interesting, and I see why you could say that disappointing, but they won the President's Trophy, so that's the best record in the league, best record the Ranger team's ever had in the history of the Rangers. So I understand, like, you didn't win the cup, and it's a disappointment. But I also say, look at let's say the Toronto Maple Leaf fans, and you looked at the record over the last 3 years. One President's Trophy and twice going to the semifinals, where the Leafs have got this supposedly great team and they can't get past the first round, right? So again, this perspective. Yeah. Now, the one thing they're gonna have to say is that, like, sometimes the NHL can be a copycat league where everybody says, okay, like, so Florida. Let's say Florida wins the cup this year, so everybody's going to want to be like the Florida Panthers, right? Big, physical, scrappy team. Good enough goaltending. Bobrovsky's maybe above good enough. He's back to being what he was before. So then I would say, okay, do we? So the Bill Zito, the general manager of Florida Panthers, 3 years ago when they won the President's Trophy, 3 or 4 years ago, said, listen, this team isn't going to win. We won the President's Trophy, but we're not going to win the Stanley Cup the way we constructed. So he went and made it a different team, right? Now they were lucky that Tkachuk came on the market. He's one of their leaders and gritty guy, so that drags the rest of the guys into it. So and that doesn't happen all the time. That a player of that caliber, that type of player in today's game comes available. But he took advantage of it and grabbed him. So it's so to change the team around now and become a different team, more like a Florida team. If that's the decision that they want to go in, that takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, right? So So it's going to be interesting. Drury has proven that he knows what he's doing. He's this team. He he inherited this type of team. Like this team was built to play a certain way, and that speed game, all of great goaltending. And the question is, can you win in the playoffs like that? And like I said, it's a copycat league a lot of times. That doesn't mean the Rangers have to be copycats, but you look at Florida and the way they win. It isn't just Florida. You get Tampa, Washington. Vegas was like that, big physical team, good skating. Like they call them dirty. I would call them dirty. It's just like they initiate the play. They don't wait to retaliate. They initiate the play, and that's what the Rangers need to be more like. But again, a lot of injuries. I know people are hard on Trouba. How much of his injury played into the way he played? He did not play as smart a game, so it's really not an injury issue. In my mind, if anything, he tried to do too much. Trouba did, and I think we saw that in his first year when he signed here as well, where he didn't play like he was running around a little bit, making bad decisions. But again, I think he just tried too hard. In the last couple of years, he settled down. They had a better team, more people around to do things with him. So, we'll see what happens with them. What do we got here today? Quiet day, rain, a lot of storms out there. Supposed to be in Greenwich, Connecticut. We're supposed to be getting storms later on this afternoon as well. What else is going on today? Kind of a quiet day, a rainy, quiet day. We haven't had Tracy Marie on lately. I don't know what. I think she probably thinks she's too good for us. So we'll see what happens if she shows up. But the D-Day today to all our veterans out there, Ron Jameson, Barry Shelley, everybody, thank you very much for your service. Think back 80 years ago what life was like. We're in the start of a world war, how we would feel now. Well, a lot of people feel like we're in a world war now, all the stuff that's going on, but we will see what happens here. Don't have a black t-shirt on today. That's the biggest news going on. They need to do what they can do. Oh, they'll keep Igor. Yeah, he's not going anywhere. Man, I mean, I think he's a restricted free agent at the end of next year, which means another team can make an offer for him, but the Rangers have the right to match that offer. But they'll get something done before they get to that point. The question is going to be like, people talk about like a home team discount, because let's say he's worth, if Panarin's worth 11.5, but that's what they signed him for anyways. You would think the best thing for the Rangers would be, if they really believe in Igor, which I'm sure they do, is to sign him, lock him up for an 8-year deal. That's the max that the team that holds his rights can sign him for. If another team comes along, they can sign him for 7 years. But so you see, so Austin Matthews in Toronto signed a 5-year deal, which is up next year, I believe. Connor McDavid signed an 8-year deal. So a lot of people think he's locked up for the 8-year deal. The player, and it's guaranteed money. So you've got that in case of an injury or whatever. But so Matthews, now he's back at the table quicker. Salary cap continues to go up. That means the individual player can get more. One individual player can get no more than 20% of the cap for that team. I believe that's the number. So some people would say, well, okay, it's a 5-year deal. You're running the risk that you get hurt, but you're also saying, okay, I'm back at the table quicker. So now I can go beyond where McDavid has gone theoretically. So with Igor, he's in that same position. So I'm his agent. I'm going, okay, here's the options. You can sign like a $12 million a year for 8 years. And you're all locked up. You're guaranteed that money. $96 million. So it's a lot of money, long term, a lot of guarantees that you're okay. This is where you're going to stay. This is your home. I mean, he'll get a no move clause as well, so he can control that. Now, the team can always come to him and say, "Listen, we need to move you at some point," and then he still has more control. He can say, "Okay, here's the places I'll go and I won't go." So well, lock him up now and get a better deal. Well, he's got a good agent. He's not going to get a better deal because it signs now. Because the agent's going to say, well, whether it's signed now or in a year, here's still the same money. Now, again, the advantage of signing in a year is the cap will go up again. So there's more room under the cap for the Rangers to get him signed. And the debate's going to be, okay, do you want to win a Stanley Cup? If you want to win a Stanley Cup, you got to take a little bit less so that we can sign other players. I don't really believe that's the player's obligation to do that. That's the general manager's job to do that. It's in a place like Florida or Tampa where the state tax is not there, then that's a different story because now you can take a little less and you're still making more than maybe you would someplace else. I heard Bill Zito say, the logic is if a guy takes 4 guys take $250,000 less on their contract, that's $1 million I have to spend on a fourth line player to help us win a cup. That's the argument. And that's all nice to say and everything. But, when you've got a family and, you sit back 30 years from now and nobody really, and this isn't sour grapes, but nobody really cares about you 30 years from now after you play, right? You're done. Your career's over with and nobody's handing you anything. Nor do they have to. There's no obligation to. But if you've now left money on the table because you want to try to win a cup, again, if it's 100 million as opposed to 110 million, are you still going to be all right with 100? Yes, you are. But it's always they say, well, the player's got to take less than hometown disco to win a cup. Well, no, the general manager's got to do his job properly and construct the team properly so they can win the cup. It's not the player's obligation to control the salary cap with taking less money. So that's my view on it. After being a player and then being an agent, and one of the things you have to factor into behind the scenes what's going on. The Players Association always wants you pushing the contract limits to the limit so you can get the most possible. That drags everybody else up. Well, I saw it when Wayne Gretzky got traded from Edmonton to LA, and he realized what everybody else was making, and he automatically got more. Then it dragged everybody else up. Everybody else like that. I think the story was, I think I'm correct, that Dave Taylor was making more than Wayne Gretzky at the time. Now, Dave Taylor is a fantastic player, but Wayne Gretzky was the best player in the league. So then once Wayne got his more money, then Mark Messier got more money, Yager got more money, Lemieux got money, and just up and up the salaries went. And salary disclosure was a big part, but that's in already. It's just so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Igor. A lot of pressure on him and his agent to get the most possible, and he's a very competitive guy. But again, to take less with the theory that there's no guarantee you're going to win the cup. Look at all the great teams out there right now. In the West there with Vegas and Colorado and Winnipeg and Vancouver and Edmonton, and then the East here with Tampa, Carolina, the Rangers, Boston's there. Although I really think the whole Boston thing, I just don't know. Again, there's a team that I don't think is built to win the playoffs. So, but they'll have good regular seasons. Again, I'm not a fan at all of Montgomery, the coach. I just don't think he understands that whole team game. Like Paul Maurice would never send out his Barkov to go fight somebody. Barkov's job is to play defense and score goals. So Montgomery letting Pastrnak go out and fight Tkachuk is just like shows to me that he just doesn't understand the team game, doesn't understand the concept at all. Everybody's got a job to do. And it's not Pasternak's job to go fight. So although Pastrnak said, "Okay, I'm going to go fight him," he should have said, "No, you're not." And that's it. I'm the boss, and I'm not letting you fight him. In the story, and it wouldn't have hurt Pastrnak at all. He's not known as a fighter anyway, so going out and getting a fight doesn't help his game at all. The only thing person that helped was Tkachuk and the Florida Panthers, because then Boston didn't do anything about it. Let him go and fight there. Nobody did anything to Tkachuk from Boston, so I think Montgomery does not know what he's doing. It was Susan Brooks' birthday on Sunday. I got reprimanded. I did not know it was her birthday. Severely reprimanded for not acknowledging that birthday. I'm fine now. It took a toll on me for a few days there, but I'm better now. What else is going on? I'm trying to think. What is happening in the world? It's interesting. What was Hunter Biden stuff? Like, what do we care about Hunter Biden? He's got the drug stuff and it's just the president's son. I guess we care because he didn't drag his father into some business deals or something too. Foreign people, I don't know. Man, it's nasty stuff. Why do we care? The whole stuff with Trump too, getting like hush money. So he paid off somebody to not say anything. Well, thank you, Jessica. Appreciate you protecting this player for me. Yeah. So that again, it is interesting, right? Because you hear, you think yourself, geez, take a hometown discount, or sign him now, you'll get him for less. And this is a big contract for everybody, right? For the agent, for the player, for the Players Association. So I'm sure there's a lot of phone calls going on where their Players Association is reaching out to the agent. I don't know who he has as an agent. I'm assuming it's somebody qualified. So there's a lot of conversations just so they can get a handle on, the players and the agent does not have to, react to the player association. They don't have to listen to them. They don't answer the questions at all. But you want to have a good working relationship with the player association. There's always good advice too. They may have a different perspective on things. Comparisons. So again, I believe he's a restricted free agent at the end of the next year, which means that the Rangers they have the rights to him. Another team can come along and give him a qualifying offer. Then the Rangers have the right to match, based on the how much money is the qualifying offer. If somebody does make an offer, there's compensation if the Rangers choose to let him go. But they're not letting him go, and I think everybody knows that. The only advantage it could be for a team, especially a team in the East, if they really want to hurt the Rangers, give a huge offer. But again, the Rangers, like sometimes people give like a big signing bonus or whatever, a lot of money the first year. But the Rangers, that'd be more for a team that they're concerned they don't have a lot of cash, that have cash problems. But there's really no teams in the league like that anymore, I don't believe. And so the Rangers aren't like that. If somebody gives this huge signing bonus, Rangers would sign, would match it. That wouldn't be a problem. So they're not letting them go. And I think most teams around the league know that they won't. But again, they can hurt the Rangers a little bit by getting that big offer, and then that hurts the Rangers as far as the cap goes. Now they have to lose some other players. So, teams may be looking at that and say, how can we do that? But then there's always retaliation. You saw where Montreal and Carolina got into that 3 or 4 years ago, so I believe Carolina made the big offer first for somebody. I can't remember who it was, but they went back and forth and kind of retaliated. People think it was retaliation. Anyways, Don Waddell, who was my old college roommate, claims it was not retaliation when they came in the second time around and tried to pick up somebody off of Montreal's lineup, but actually did pick up somebody. So, again, that is an option out there for another team. I don't see that happening. Again, I think the Rangers will probably get something done before it gets to that point where he can be a restricted free agent. Again, I think that's his status as a restricted free agent. So there's the entry-level salary. That's when you come out of college or junior. Depending on when you sign, it's either a 3-year deal or a 2-year deal. And if you sign old enough, I think it becomes a 1-year deal. So you're capped at I think it's $900,000 a year or $1 million a year now. And then there's so again, depending on your age and how many years you've played, there's then that period of time where you're a restricted free agent, again, which means somebody can make a qualifying offer. And then you have arbitration rights during that period as well. Now, after that, when your contract's expired, you become an unrestricted free agent. I mean, you can just walk away from the team for nothing. And that's where Tkachuk was going to be when he was with Calgary. He had another year left in his deal, but he told them, listen, I won't be re-signing here, so I'll leave you as a free agent. So now they obviously didn't want to just give him away for nothing, so they made the trade with Florida to get him there. Now, there's some people believe that if you can't get him, so like John Tavares, for example, was with the Islanders. They couldn't get him signed. He ultimately left and went signed with Toronto. Now, some people believe, geez, you give him away for nothing. Now, some people will believe that, okay, well, the cap space that was created by not signing him for, I think it's like $11 and $10 million, whatever it was, that's value, right? Because now you can go sign another player. You can go sign another free agent yourself. So you're really not losing it for nothing if that's the way you look at it. You say, okay, well, listen, we're going to have to pay him $11 million to keep him. So now we let him go and we pick up 3 free agents with that $11 million that help our lineup. So you really have made a trade. You just use the cap space dollars to get the new players. So there's some believe that it's really not that bad a move just to let him go for nothing. Again, if you're just trading them just to get warm bodies, make it look like you just didn't lose them. Like there's egos involved too with the general managers. They don't want to make it look like they've done something stupid or didn't, drop the ball. But again, I know talking to some GMs, they still, it's a bad look more than anything, so they want to get bodies for them. But again, just to get, third or fourth line guys for a top-notch player when you can just say, okay, let's let them go. We've got the cap space now and we can go sign some other guys. Again, you've got to really know the market too, what's out there, what players are going to be free agents. And every team's different. What do we need on this team? Do we have enough star players? Like look at Toronto now. Some would argue that they shouldn't have signed Tavares. They've got too much money wrapped up in those big guys, Marner, Matthews, Nylander, and Tavares, and too much top end. They can't really spend a lot of money on a goaltender, which is what they need more than anything at that team. So, but that's going to be an interesting team to see what happens with them too with Toronto, because I don't think you can win with that lineup. They've got that core group of guys with Marner and Matthews in particular. Just, again, there's a team that's just like a great regular season team, but can't win in the playoffs. They're just not constructed. They don't have good goaltending, not enough defensemen. So see what they do up there. A lot of pressure. That's Toronto. But the good thing with Brad Treliving, the general manager there now, he didn't put that team together, so he has no obligation to any of these guys. He's given now. There's a lot of people, got their hands in the mix there. Brendan Shanahan's there now. There's got to be some heat on Brendan Shanahan too, right? He went there. He's been president, I think, like 8 or 9 years now. Brett and Lou Lamoriello, Kyle Dubas, signed Sheldon Keefe. So that was his group of guys he put together. Sheldon Keefe is gone. Kyle Dubas is gone. I think he just doesn't know how to put the team together at all. Lou Lamoriello is obviously left now, running the New York Islanders. So, and they haven't won. So, I would assume he's got a couple more years. Or at least the team's got to be heading in the right direction. But you could argue the team is heading in the right direction. And the advantage that Toronto has is there's no. They're not losing money. The tickets are sold out all the time. There's a waiting list. So win or lose, there's no pressure financially there. Like the owners aren't coming to them saying, "Listen, you're losing money because of this terrible team." And again, it's not a terrible team, but they're not going to win the playoffs. And you wonder sometimes how badly does ownership want to win the Stanley Cup in Toronto? I mean, I'm sure they'd like to, but does it matter? Does the bottom line change because they win the cup or don't win the cup? I don't think it does in Toronto. I mean, obviously make some more money, but it's Toronto Maple Leafs, Montreal Canadiens, same thing. Sold out all the time, merchandise, all the other sources of revenue that they have. So we'll see what happens there. I don't get why New Jersey signed Sheldon Keefe at all. There's no record of success, no record of being able to coach star players, and they have young star players there in New Jersey. Maybe it's relationships. Maybe know somebody there. I just don't. They showed a comparison. Craig Berube, pregame speech for a playoff game when he was with St. Louis. It's like, F this, and we're going to win. And that's it, like sending a message like we're winning. And then they had Sheldon Keefe like, okay, guys, let's go out there and have fun. And it was just funny watching the difference between the two guys. And obviously, Craig Berube's having his success. So see how he does there with Toronto. He's a hardened guy now. I mean, both as a player, although, well, I don't think this really matters, but there's a video out that I forgot about this. He got himself in some trouble back when he was playing. He called somebody, a black player called him a monkey, and got suspended for that. And you can't, it's like when he was playing, so that's like 30 years ago, or whatever. But you kind of wonder, in a market like Toronto, if things don't go well, does that pop up again? Now they make a big case about it. It's just interesting with all the stuff that's happened in the past with coaches. What will happen with what's his name? Coach Chicago. William Haynes, you veteran, D-Day today. I'm sure it's important to you in your life. How you doing, brother? Veteran conductor. Good word there, conductor. So we'll see what happens, Berube. So we got Berube in Toronto. We've got Sheldon Keefe went to New Jersey. I understand the Berube one totally, but great move. Our boy, my old roommate Don Waddell now is in Columbus, took that job. It's funny. I think I told the story. I'd heard that he'd stepped down. I knew he was having some problems with the owner there. The owner was a little bit demanding's okay, but this guy apparently is a nutcase. That's my words. That's not Don's words. That's my perception of him. So I heard that Don was stepping down in Carolina. He did a fantastic job putting that team together. And I thought, oh, God, poor Don. I called him up and he was laughing. He hadn't been announced yet, but he says, nah, it's fine. I'm going to be making 3 times as much money in Columbus as I was here, and much better situation. He's going to be president and GM there too. So, but that also means then that another good friend and former teammate of mine, John Davidson, steps aside. I haven't talked to JD. I should give him a call actually too. But he'll stay with the team as a senior advisor. JD's got a lot of pride. I don't know if that's going to be the end for him or not. I'm 66. He's older than me. He's got to be at least 70, I think. So, whether he'll want to move on, again, he's got pride. I'll never forget when I was retiring and I got started doing the broadcasting. I had a lot of talks with JD. He talked about how he was very proud of himself as a player, had a good career and all that, but he felt like he didn't get as much out of his one. He didn't want to do that again in his next career. So in the broadcasting world, he could argue that he was the best in hockey as far as color commentator, one of the best in any sport. And it was like his preparation. Sam Rosen talked about it, that when JD left, went and worked for Hockey Night in Canada, then came back to MSG. JD's work ethic was just impeccable, and Sam really learned a lot from him. That was interesting to say, because Sam's always been viewed as a totally professional guy, and he was very open and not shy about it at all. So JD taught him to how his preparation could he be better and makes him a better broadcaster. And he did so. And then JD became president of the team. He wanted to win. He wanted to be the best out there. And I think when he got the job with the Rangers, it's a prestigious job. I mean, a guy that played there as a broadcaster and now come back as president and run the team. It meant a lot to him. Didn't work out. And again, I spoke to him after he got fired, and he was, he wasn't bitter at all, really. To tell you the truth, I think he understood that's the way the game worked. And he knew, I'm assuming at that time, he knew he could go back to Columbus. And JD's smart. Like when he leaves someplace, he doesn't leave like fire someplace, a smoldering fire, and leave it in ashes. He leaves a very professional guy, personal. And so when he leaves, it's smart too, because now you realize who knows what happens down the road. In the case with the Rangers, I'm sure he wasn't, when he left Columbus, wasn't anticipating that he was going to get fired by the Rangers. I thought he probably was thinking more he was going to win a Stanley Cup with the Rangers. And then, but he's been around long enough to realize things happen, and he was able to go back to Columbus. So JD be fine, and financially he's fine too. So he's done well. That's life, so there's no problems there. But so it's interesting. So my old college roommate goes in and kind of takes JD's job. But I think it was more they made the decision that to move JD aside and get somebody else. And then once Don was available, then it happened pretty quickly. So it was in the works. So it works out well for my old buddy. I was calling him, feeling bad for him. It's like he's got a summer home in Michigan. It was like a 3-hour drive from Columbus. Again, making 3 times as much money. And now he's, I think he's. Again, he still has to answer to the owners, but it's his team to run. The owner in Columbus or in Carolina was just a nightmare. So involved, that which is, again, the owner, he owns the team. He paid all the money. He's got the right to be involved. It's let the guys that know what they're doing do their job. That's with any company that you got going. So it worked out well for him. So again, we got Montgomery. He's still Boston. I'm talking about. So we got Sheldon Keefe. Went to New Jersey, Berube in Toronto. What else is open? What's his name? Dan Bylsma signed with Seattle. So what other job is available? So Columbus is looking for a coach. That's right. Again, I'm a big Gerard Gallant. I hear more stories about Gallant that his practices weren't good and all this different kinds of stuff, and he didn't make adjustments. But I look at his record. And, the first year at Vegas, there was no expectations at all. Now, George McPhee, another old teammate, did a great job of putting the team together. But there's also a lot of guys there, like guys that really were castaways a little bit. Like that Carlson, didn't he score 6 goals a year before he got picked up by Vegas in the expansion draft? And then, so he takes it. Now, again, they had Marc-Andre Fleury. But again, they didn't have Marc-Andre Fleury for the first quarter of the season. He was hurt. They went through 3 or 4 different goaltenders, I think. At least 3. And so he still, Gallant was a good enough coach to get him to the finals in their first year, an expansion team. Nobody would have thought that was going to happen. Nobody looked at that lineup when they had their expansion draft and thought, okay, this team's going to go to the Stanley Cup finals. But they did. Then he comes to the Rangers and they go to the semifinals. And so I'm a Gallant fan. But again, I hear all these stories. But, whenever a coach gets fired, there's always these stories coming out. He didn't do this well, didn't do that. Peter Laviolette got fired. He's been fired 5 or 6 times. But people think he's the best coach the Rangers have ever had. Not ever had, but one of the best coaches out there now. And look at the record. They won the President's Trophy and went to the semifinals. So interesting with coaches. Rod Jameson, how are you, brother? Would you ever flash the crowd? All right. So I'm assuming we're talking about the girl in Edmonton. I did not see this. I was listening to Boomer Geo, and they were very impressed with her cleavage. And we're talking about it. Apparently, what she flashed the crowd, and it's become a big deal there now. So, Deb Anderson, Deborah, how are you doing? Again, is this a big story? This woman in Edmonton flashing the crowd, or is this just like a small thing? Again, Boomer and Gio were talking about it. It's pretty funny. They're very impressed by her ability to. By her cleavage. Yes. So Dallas girls getting it done. Yeah, that says a lot too. Oh God, it's funny. I told you when I was still in the Asian business, the scouts used to call Nashville the rink full of boobs and boots, all the fake boobs and the boots and everything. Of course, I didn't notice until they said something that I said, oh, yeah. What would prompt a woman to, I guess if she's going to make money or it's a dare or something like that. But why would a woman flash her boobs like in front of people? I guess it's a big thing in New Orleans, right? I didn't like New Orleans at all. I was down there 20 years ago, I guess it was. I was there with Brian Berard, actually. And dirty. It's a nasty place. I mean, it's funny if you're like 19 years old and just want to drink beer 24 hours a day and watch boobs bounce around. But it's a dirty place. Yeah, I get point. A few libations and some money. Yeah. But apparently this woman looked like she wasn't like a 19-year-old girl. She was like, they thought she was in her 30s or something. So, but I guess, what are we talking? I guess guys can do it all the time. So why can't women do it? Murray Graham, what's happening, brother? How are you? For the Stanley Cup this year. Who do I think will win the Stanley Cup this year? I think that Florida's going to win the Stanley Cup. I just think that they're going to pound McDavid or try to anyways, and just like be all over him, like cross checking him and the whole bit. And I don't know if Edmonton's they've got Kane there, but he was hurt. Like in the last game of that Dallas series, he was in and out. He's going to the locker room all the time. So, but they got a break here. We'll see what happens with him. I guess they got some guys on Edmonton, Darnell Nurse and Ekholm, is it the big physical guys? But but I still think Florida's got enough. And they got better goaltending. That Skinner still, although he played well in the last two games in the Dallas series, you're kind of wondering like, oh God, how's he gonna do here? So I'm going to go Florida. I'm going to go Florida in 6 games, and I think it'll be a very physical series. Where is Tracy? Okay, so typically in the past, she's missed the last few shows, and she got into that pattern there where it was that 15 to 20 minute mark where she'd sit in the weeds there, and then okay, here I am, everybody. I'm Tracy. Look at me. How dirty do I think the series will get? I think it's going to get dirty because, again, they're going to target McDavid. At least I would if I was a coach, because that's the thing. If you don't get all over, if you let McDavid do what he wants to do out there, then Florida won't win. But I don't see them like that. I think Florida's a team that they buy in, like they like Paul Maurice. They've had success with him, and he'll have a game plan. And I'm assuming it's just because it's not going to be that complicated. You can't let him get wound up. Got to play the body on him. Like that first goal he scored in Game 6 there against Dallas. The defenseman, was it Niskanen? I think it was. He got beat in the mind. Like you tell, like he didn't play the one-on-one. Probably he turned to the side, didn't face him. I know it's McDavid, but I think sometimes you get psyched out. It was like that with Gretzky when you first start playing against him too. It's like so. Let me see. Jack Smith. Good morning, Tom. We're 50 years on how to play with Dougie Brown, Southborough, Mass. Why was it hard for me to take right turns and left turns with my cross? Why was it hard for me to make right turns and left turns? That happens to a lot of people. Well, you have a dominant foot too. Like most people, like play soccer, they kick with the right foot or left foot. So, that's part of it. You have that one foot, so it's easier to that base foot when you're crossing over is really important, right? You need to have like the angles, the skate, and everything. So that's for me. That's why. But again, it's one of those things. The more you do it, that goes away after a while. Is Tracy going the way of Lane? Right? Yeah. Is that true? It's like women in my life, right? You get right off in the sunset. Like 2 wives, right? Elaine, she was funny. Forget about that. I wouldn't want to fight Kane. Kane's a tough dude. Tkachuk is tough too, but Kane's got more muscle to him. I don't think Kachuk's a real natural fighter. He'll fight, and he's strong and nasty and everything. But I don't think that's really his game. Whereas Kane, he's more the old school kind of guy. I don't know what's happened with him too, because again, him being hurt. But too many interesting, right? Canadian team in the finals. It's not great for the league, really. I mean, it's Edmonton, so it's great for the Canadian market, but most people here in the U.S. care less about Edmonton, and then Florida's a small market too. So, I mean, the diehard hockey fans, it'll be a great series for hockey fans. But as far as like having the non-traditional hockey fans tuning in, because it'll be. I think it's going to be a really hard-fought series. Physical play. Again, the goaltending is going to be a big issue. I'm just not sold. Skinner, he just hasn't proven time after time that he can do it. Again, he's on a roll right now, so he's butter. On a roll, get it, butter. Elaine, she contacted Elaine. Maybe we'll get her on a show again. She was not too happy with me. She could not get. She really thought that I bailed on her wedding. I was supposed to speak at it and everything, and I really didn't. I showed her my tickets that I had in the whole bet, tickets, hotel, rental car. Her wife had asked me to speak at the wedding, so I was going to do that. And I didn't know until like 3 or 4 days before the wedding that I would have to quarantine for 2 weeks or whatever when I came back. I think all that stuff, how stupid that was back then, quarantine. Let me see here. Getting on late today, your thoughts on the Rangers moving forward? All right, so let's go through that again, which is fine. It's good. So to me, again, injuries played into it too. But if you look at Florida and you look at Vegas last year, Tampa and Washington when they win, or you go way back to the Islanders or even the Oilers when they won all the cups. It really hasn't changed. Like to win the Stanley Cup, yes, you have to have skill, you have to have good goaltenders, no question. But you got to have some big guys that are banging and crashing. You got to have a little bit of an attitude, in your face kind of mentality. And that's not the way the Rangers are constructed. The Rangers are a fantastic team. They're won the President's Trophy. That wasn't a fluke. They got a great goaltending, super skilled guys, and the way they played early in the playoffs. But once it got to the point where, even with Carolina a little bit, and then with Florida, obviously, they kind of, again, they're fantastic athletes, and their will to win is great too. But it's just different type of players. Like there's no Kachuk on that team. There's no guys that are in your face. That's many guys that are in your face. They do have those guys. Like again, we're going through the roster with Tom Smith with our Full Change podcast. And if you put like a guy like Goudreau together with Cooley and Rempe. If you get that line together, okay, that's a smash. They're going to be in your face all the time and like stirring the pot and getting things going. So they have the guys that can do it. I would like to, again, like Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, all like fantastic athletes. You'd like them just to be a little bit nastier, right? Just to, and again, but that's not the way they are. Kreider's one of the greatest Rangers ever played. He's going to go in the Hall of Fame probably. I know that's number retired for sure for the Rangers, and he deserves to. He's had a fantastic career. If it ended today, he's had a fantastic career. Unfortunately, he's not this nasty guy that's rubbing the glove in the face, and yapping all the time. Trocheck's like that. So again, they've got the guys to do it. The other guy that I would really, two guys we talked about, Rempe and Keandre Miller, to whatever they do, either here, at the Rangers practice facility, or wherever they go home during the summer, to really work on getting stronger and beefing up like muscle. Like Miller, I love him. And again, we talked so many times, he's only played defense for like 6 years. And defense takes a long time to learn. Like you instinctively have to make decisions like quickly. You don't have time out there to analyze the situation. You got to, like in half a second, you got to say, okay, what's the ice condition? What's the score of the game? Who am I out here with? Who am I out there against? And then make a decision based on that. Do I pinch off the player? Is my forward back checking? So I'm going to be left with a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1? All those things, and it's got to happen instantly at the NHL level. So, but one of the things with him is he's got to get like this again. There's a few times where people go to hit him and he ducks out of the way. Well, he's 6'5" or whatever he is, but he's a rail right now. He needs to put on some beef and get more of the attitude. He doesn't have to fight, but when somebody comes to hit him, like they're going to hit a brick wall. They're going to hit a big man, like a man. And I can, I've talked little stuff like you cross-check him in the arms. Like you don't want your arms extended with your cross-checking because now you're going to get a penalty. Keep your arms in tight. When that guy goes to hit you, just cross-check him right in the arms. It's just a little thing. Like next time he's going to go, oh God, I got a bruise in my arm from going to hit him now. Now I got to do it again. And sooner or later, it's the guy doesn't want to hit you anymore. He may still come and hit you, but he's going to be less it won't be as hard coming after you because he knows that you're going to hit back. And that's, again, I don't think Miller should fight. I don't think that's his personality, but he just get physically stronger, which will make him mentally stronger. He'll believe in himself much more because he's got tons of skill. He can skate with the puck. He's just indecisive sometimes. Like we talked about the that one game against Florida where he went to rim the puck around, killing the penalty, and you can tell he just wasn't all into it. He just like he watched an old game where Barry Beck played, for example. Like when he shot the puck around the boards, man, it's like cannon. He had no doubts in mind that it was gonna, sometimes get picked off. Sometimes you just make mistakes, but don't make a mistake from going halfway. Make a mistake like you don't make a mistake from commission. You make a mistake from omission. Is that correct? No. Don't make a mistake from omission. Make a mistake from commission. So make a play, make a decision, and live with it. Again, I've said so many times about the great players I played with, the Espositos, the Gretzky's, the Larry Robinsons. If you watch their games, they're always making mistakes, and they weren't afraid to make mistakes. Obviously, it's easier when you're a star player like that. You're going to get right back on the ice again. You're not going to get benched. But all coaches are the same way. If the coach can see that you're you're making a decision and you're making it decisively, like passes come from the heart. You're doing it, and you're not just hoping it's going to work. You're making it work. And it's knowing sometimes the game of hockey, with all sports, with life, you make mistakes all the time. There's always mistakes. But if you're giving everything you've got, then you just get back on the horse again and ride. It's not that. But that's the biggest thing. Like if you watch Miller play, again, incredible athlete, and his future is brilliant. Like they should never even contemplate getting rid of him. I don't think. I think it's working with him more to believe in himself more. But again, that starts with the physical part of your body, like physically getting stronger. He's really like a rail right now. If you see him in street clothes, he's skinny, this tall, skinny kid, and he's just got so much skill. I believe that he just needs to get a lot stronger. I hope Rempe works on his game. I like Terry did it. Yeah, I wish Nikki would teach him to fight. Well, here's the thing. Like everybody fights their own way, so you can't. The fighting part of it, yeah. So no, Nikki's not going to help him. But it's the fighting part. He can't stay in the league. So the league is so different now. There is no Terry O'Reilly. There is no Bob Nystrom. There's no place for that anymore. That's just not in the game. So he's shown he can fight, and occasionally he'll have to continue to fight. But what he needs to do more is be that big physical player. The fighting part of it, that's as much as we may want him to be a fighter all the time. You don't need to. It's just not part of the game. It's not. You can't have a guy sitting on the bench for 3 minutes just being a fighter. He's got to contribute, and he can. He's only 21 years old. He needs to get stronger and concentrate and really work on his game. Like forget the fighting part right now. Everybody knows you can fight. It's more learning the game, like understanding, okay, what do I do here? Like, how do I forecheck? What's my angle I take? Like sometimes you think, okay, is he skating too fast? Like sometimes you skate too fast and you skate past the play as opposed to using your brain more. And again, watching old videos, we're playing a game, Ron Duguay. I forgot how good he was. There was a game against LA in the 81 playoffs, whatever. And I skated to the net with the puck and ran over the goaltender and puck bounced out. So, but Dukes didn't like skate right to the net right away. He waited a little bit because he knew, first of all, he's got to be in the position to back check. If the puck goes the other way and I'm caught, I'm a defenseman. So he's in the position to back check better. Plus he's also like, he now can read, like you can always go towards the net, which he did. But the rebound came out, he went towards the net and got the rebound and scored, as opposed to being in too tight. Now the rebound comes past you. So there's little things like that he's got to learn about. Work ethic is fantastic, but you got to use your head too. But again, the whole fighting thing, that's not going to sustain. That every year the NHL used to name first team, second team, all-star players. Who would you put in the first list on your list? First team, second team, all-stars. Oh, okay. Well, we're going to start with goaltender. So Shesterkin's number one goaltender. I would say Vasilevsky is the number two goaltender from the second team. The forward part is tough. Like, you got McDavid. I would not put Matthews there. McDavid, I would put there. Him and Draisaitl, both on the same team, but and then I like, what's his name? What the guy in Colorado? It's awful. I keep forgetting his name all the time. I guess we don't talk about him that much, so I can't forget it. Nathan McKinnon. And then you still got Crosby's up there. I guess Pasternak would have to be there. On defense, Cale Makar, man. Cale Makar, it was a tough year for our guy Fox this year being hurt. So it's hard to, I don't know if I put him there this year, but maybe more because of injury. Who else would we have there? That's an interesting question. I have to think more about that. Defensive. So obviously guys I'd miss. I like the big defenseman. And then who's the big defenseman in Tampa too? But I'd have to really think about that. But it's a good question though. Let me see here. I've written for years that Kreider is not great because he's so up and down. Disappears and he proved again. Like Rick Nash before, he just disappears, plays so soft, so disappointing. I know the criticism, but if you look at the overall record for him and the goals he scored, and I get it. The problem is he's so dynamic when he plays his best. Like that period we got 3 goals against Carolina, right? Yeah, was just he does what he wants to do, right? And then when he doesn't play that well, then it's disappointing. But it's almost like it's a penalty to him that he's so good, right? But yeah, that is his knock in his game, that it isn't always there. But the truth is, though, with most players around the league, that is the way they are. We're watching the Rangers all the time. We get to see all the negative, right? We don't. So if we watch Florida play, they look great. But if you're Florida fans, you watch them all the time. You'll see the negative in their game more because you see them all the time, and there's negative in everybody's game. So it's. You see, Trevor was a crappy 5-goal man when he came in the league and worked hard. He's getting a lot better. Yeah, no question. Yeah. Your point is, if you look at the fighting part for Terry Riley, that game's gone now. But yeah, to become a player, yeah, and Rempe has the ability to do that. He can skate. He's big. He's going to get room out there because of how he plays. I mean, he's going to have to learn too about. The referees have got a target on him right now because how big he is, and because he's so big. When he goes to hit players. If it's a smaller player or if a guy's going to fall down, Rempe's elbows are right in his face all the time. So he's got to learn to try to knock that out because again, he's just going to continue to get penalties, and then they can't play him if he continues to get penalties all the time. But he is going to get a lot of room. There's going to be a lot of nights where guys just don't want to play against him, right? Because he's that big body, but he's got to use the body smart, right? It's like not but just running around and hitting to hit. It's got to be smart hits, not taking penalties. I see here. Bob Nation was a horrible skater and worked with Lawrence Stam. Really proves, yep. Yes, he really improved his skating a lot. But Rempe's skating is fine. I don't think he needs to work on his skating necessarily at all. I hear your point with the Nystrom, but I know you're not comparing him to Rempe. But it's Rempe is more. It's that smarts. Okay, when do I go? Like he had one big hit he had against Washington. We ran the guy in the imports. Like those kind of things are the ones that you still want him to do. Even if he runs the risk of getting a penalty, like you still want those in the game because that really just now the other team is like, oh my God, here comes this guy. Like if I'm a defenseman, I see that happen. I'm like, oh, here he comes. You change the way you play your game. You can say you don't, but you do. There's no point in arguing. It's just you see a big guy like that. So it's more again, it's when to do things. His forechecking, his back checking. He's great. I love to have him as a teammate too. He's a funny kid, right? He's got that golly G kind of thing. Like when he's talking about and what needs to change too. And I know he was joking around a little bit in his first year where he talked about how Lavalette came down, told me he had a shift there late in the game. He's going, well, coach came down, told me he had a shift, and he's kind of surprised about it. So he's got to get to the point, and he will, that he's not surprised, but that should be what he expects, that he should be disappointed when he doesn't get the shifts in the right way. Let's get a bit more than a fortnight guy. It's a great future. Yeah, absolutely. And I think if I'm the Rangers too, it's okay. Here's got this blank canvas, right? Of this kid that we can make him into whatever we want. He's big, can skate, can fight, he's got a great attitude. Teammates love him, the fans love him. So now let's work with this, and really make him his best player. And they will. I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't. It's common sense to do that. So yeah, I would think he'd come back next year, not a different player, but a smarter player. Like really understanding the game, but it's not like he doesn't understand the game at all now. It's just like any young player coming in, and he's got all this raw material to work with. It's just a little smarter. See. Tom, Gresham Dave received massive tax driving in the city. Thank God MSC dropped it. Yeah. Yeah, so now the governor now has decided they're not going to do, at least for now. People are speculating it's a political thing. Now once the voting is done, then they'll put it in because they don't want to hurt the Democrats and make it look like they brought in this congestion pricing. God, that is expensive. Imagine living in going out and living in Utah someplace or Montana. Cost of living, how much different is like driving. Yeah, different world though. That's the thing. Sometimes thinking they'd like to live someplace else, but then all the opportunities you have around here, like there's so much to do around here, right? Like business wise, or just pleasure. Saw somebody, I can't remember where it was. They had one of those glass floors up high, and they had it make it look like it was cracking as you walk across it. And the guys were walking across. There's no way I would do it. No chance. I would go up there. Even the one in the city there, at Harbor Yards, you just couldn't get me out there to walk on that glass, because my thought process would be, okay, this is the one time it's going to break when I'm on it. Oh God. Oh man, congestion pricing though. What was it? I was talking to Uber. I talked to really interesting. I had an Uber ride the other day, going down to Chelsea Piers, and this young guy, like 24-year-old guy from Dominican Republic, really cool dude. Like he started, like, he's got his own limousine business, drives an Uber, owns other cars so other guys can drive. 24 years old, but he had the whole plan going, everything. His girlfriend was pregnant, but he did not get married. Like, he really thought through his life. An impressive guy. What was it? I can't remember what his name was. He's got his card too. Very impressive. Interesting. Some of these Uber drivers. Some of them are just total nutcases. I love when an Uber driver wants to go, step on the gas, go 100 miles an hour, and then slam on the brakes. Step on the gas, slam on the brakes. And I'm thinking to myself, I want to say something, but then I'm like, oh God, then he's gonna drop me off in the middle of nowhere, not give me a ride. But it's not, again, this guy was an excellent driver. You get some good. Taking an Uber is kind of a hit and miss kind of thing, right? Again, some of the drivers you've got, they can't stay in their lane. You're going up to Henry Hudson Parkway, which is curvy and all this kind of stuff, and they're swerving over in front of cars. It's just like, if I say, just close your eyes, Tom, because you're kidding me about it anyway. So, and then of course with an Uber driver, they want to get the ride done as quickly as possible so they get on the next one. So they're going 100 miles an hour too. Although the one thing I do say, if a guy starts texting when he's driving, I'm like, I try to be nice at first. Like, can you please drive the car and not text? Yeah. So if I go missing something, I think got off a bridge or something in Uber. Joe Biden, suddenly the borders are here. Yeah. I know. Yeah. So all of a sudden now, let in millions. It seems like there's millions of people that have come across the border illegally. And all of a sudden, we need to put a stop to that. Before he claimed he didn't have the power to do it, but now he's just going ahead and do it anyways, even though he doesn't. He claims before he didn't have the power. So, all of a sudden I do have the power. Maybe I don't care if I have the power. I'm just going to do it. Could have done it before. That whole thing, some of the stories about some of the people who come in, from China and all these other countries, the stories of police that have found them doing training out in the woods. It doesn't really matter that much, does it? So in my truck too now, we're going to get I think it's the transmission. God. But the problem is, so I haven't driven my truck in a couple weeks now, but you got Instacart and Amazon, so you don't even need to drive anymore. Well, I had to walk down to the liquor store, which wasn't too far away, carrying my case of vodka. I'm walking. People must be looking like, what's this guy doing at 9 o'clock in the morning, carrying a case of vodka. I watched somebody call our carnivore store in British Columbia. Wow, is it beautiful out there? He lives in, that's a beautiful part of the country. Oh man, here in the city of Vancouver, you look up in the mountains and everything. Oh, the other city's really nice too. It's Calgary with the Rocky Mountains, Banff. Oh, beautiful. Calgary's a fantastic city. If you want to go clean, you fly in the airport there. The airport's spotless. And I think it's a 45-minute hour drive up into Banff. Beautiful. That's a fantastic place. If you're in Banff, the elk are walking around. The only thing you got to do is watch out for the elk poop on the streets. But that is beautiful country out there, the Rocky Mountains and everything. Oh man, that's a place. To me, if somebody says they show a picture of a city, that's a beautiful picture. I go, not for me. Mountains is where it's beautiful. At least some cities are beautiful when we roll it up and everything, but it would have to be made in order to sign it. Well, that's going to be a thing. And so I believe they have. Obviously, they won the President's Trophy, so it's not a stretch to say, "Well, this is a great hockey team." They are. They're arguably one of the top, 6-8 teams in the league. You look at all the Floridas and Carolinas and all those teams. Boston, Toronto's up there. Out west, you've got Vegas and Colorado and Vancouver and Edmonton. So there's Rangers right up there. The only issue is going to be the cap. I think they're roughly $8 million under the cap right now. They've got a few guys to sign, so I think they're all right this year. But the problem is, if you wait till next year and then start trying to move guys, let's say Trouba, for example. Everybody thinks he had a bad year this year. Okay, it wasn't as good a year this year. He made some bad decisions, no question. But if you show like a year before that, big clean hits to really change the tone for the team. Second power play unit, move the puck, leader. So I still think he's that player. Did he have a bad year this year? Yeah, he did have a bad year, and he'd say the same thing. And I've had bad years in the past too, and then come back next year and go back to where I was before. There's so many reasons for it. You lose your confidence. Injuries play a role in it. But the problem's going to be is he makes $8.5 million. He now comes July 1st. He doesn't have no move clause anymore. He gives the team 15 teams that he has that he can get traded to. If you trade him and get rid of that $8.5 million, now that helps you next year because you get to that end of next year when Igor's an unrestricted free agent or restricted free agent. And now you've got to start moving guys to make room for him. Well, now everybody else in the league knows what you're doing, and they're not going to help you at all. I mean, you're going to have to pay a premium to get rid of people to make cap space for them. You're not going to get much back. Like for Trouba, for example, you may end up having, if you wait till the end of next year to trade him, you may end up having to give up players with Trouba just to get the cap space to get another team to take him. He'd be an older player, and if he had another bad year, another team's going to say, well, why are we taking this older player making $8.5 million? And the only way they're going to do that is if they get help, like you give them another player. Now you're losing two players off the lineup. Wait, that's my feeling. Again, Chris Drury will know the market. What could he get for him right now? And I'm not saying we want to get rid of Trouba. I like him as a player. I know he had a bad year, but I still think he's very valuable. He's a leader, good citizen. He wants to be a New York Ranger. Again, this is tricky because people think that you get these 15 teams that you trade to. Now, if I don't want to be moved, I'm going to give you 15 teams that are less likely to, first of all, want me and can get me because of the salary cap situation. So if you get a team that's right up against the cap, and you say, okay, that's one of my 15 teams. Well, it's really that team isn't relevant because they can't trade for them. They've got no money to trade for them. So it's nice to say you get 15 teams that you can send them to, but it may not be 15. Now that's maybe Trouba when they say, listen, we're going to trade you, and then you don't want to be here. So then you don't want to do that. You give them 15 teams that you want to go to that Rangers could actually get a deal done with. So that's the tricky thing about these lists of teams that you want to go to. So again, I mean, everybody looks at Kaapo Kakko, and it may be time for him to move. I've always preached to be patient with these guys, but I think time's up for him. You run the risk that he's going to go someplace else to be great, but he isn't being great right now at the Rangers. I think he's making $4 million or whatever he's making, so that clears up some cap space. I don't know what you'll get for him at this point. I mean, you probably get like a conditional pick depending on how well he plays with a new team, if anything, or maybe you just want to get rid of the cap dollars and have him go someplace else. It clearly just has not worked here for him. And again, listen, all of a sudden he could play great tomorrow or next year, and you kick yourself in your end. But as of right now, it's just he's taking up a spot in the roster and taking up cap space too. So I'll go from Tampa to Toronto as you can. It's awesome. Yeah, you told us that before too. Yeah. Let me see how much the U.S. and Canada look alike. Yep. Yeah, Canada's a beautiful country. Governments are like they're only in your business a lot more than the U.S. Let me see. Yeah, crossing the border back and forth up there was a big process. It took him hours to get through Windsor to the U.S. and then back in Canada. You assume you just drive back. Yeah, but nowadays, with all the terror stuff and everything, yes, it doesn't always take a long time crossing the border. Sometimes it's pretty quick. Especially, I mean, I guess it's easier for me. I'm Canadian and U.S. citizen. We got both passports. But sometimes they try to catch you, see if you got something going on. So they'll. I remember as I was younger, I used to panic going across the border. Just I was first off the farm, going up to Michigan, driving up there. Other roster moves. So Kaapo Kakko, I think, will be gone. I would assume. I like that Cooley a lot. I hope that they keep him. Wenberg and those kind of guys. I don't know. Wheeler. I don't know if you. Again, I guess Wenberg's making a lot of money from what I understood too. But I mean, if you've got him at a real cheap price, but again, you got to see what the free agent market out there too is. There's probably some guys out there they'd like to get. Again, you're going to want to get the little. When they signed that Sammy Blaze from St. Louis or traded for him, I thought that was really going to help. Again, he got hurt, so that didn't work out here. But that kind of guy, they just want to make it so that, like if you look at Florida's lineup, those guys that they had, just like you look at them, you just hate them, right? But if you're a Florida fan, you love them. But the way they play, it was just in your face all the time. They just need more of that attitude. Again, Kreider is what he is. Zibanejad is what he is. Panarin is what he is. They're not those in your face kind of guys. Fantastic hockey players. But that's fine. Then let them play the way they play. But you got to get guys a little bit more of a grit to them, a little bit more sandpaper, as they say. Let's see here. Southern border, you just walk in and the border was, oh God, borders. That whole, our politicians on both sides. Like this whole thing with Trump, hush money and all. Like, do we really care? Like we're spending so much time on Trump and Hunter Biden and the hush money. How about they found the cocaine in the White House and they said, well, we don't know where it came from. The cameras, like every 6 inches, there's a camera in the White House. It's not Hunter Biden's. Oh God, it's on both sides too. It's disparaging. All right, everybody. We've got an hour here. Man, I can babble, can't I? Blah 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 blah. Everybody, 988 hotline. Suicide prevention and mental health issues. You can reach out to that. Everybody help each other out. The shoulder check movement is out there. We get, I was talking to my old buddy, Steve Mazzilli, who runs a Gotham Comedy Club down the city. We're going to put on a couple of months. We're going to work towards putting on a little fun night where we get some guys and get some comedians to have some fun, raise some money for mental health issues. I got to get this woman on to Jennifer Ashley. She's with the Vibrant, which runs actually the 988 hotline for the government. It used to be called the New York City Mental Health Association. I was on the board for that for a while. And so we're going to get her on. And I think that probably will be our charity if we get this thing going. So again, that's something I talked to Steve Mazzilli about. The great Steve Mazzilli, huge Ranger fan. Again, he runs the Gotham Comic Club. They actually own 11 Live over in the Palisades Mall. They don't run it anymore. They have somebody else running it, but they still own it. Zach Jones. Yeah, Zach Jones was good. Yeah, there's another player. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what also happens. Let's say you do make the decision to move a Trouba. Then that makes room for another guy like Zach Jones. But again, Trouba's, that's a tough one, right? Because he's the leader of the team. He's the captain. He has played fantastic when he'd be here. This past year was not good. He'll be the first guy to say so. But again, you got to give other guys more room, right? And then the same thing with Braden Schneider. Give him more. Like he really improved. He's not perfect. No relation to Lee Mazzilli. No, Steve lives in Rye, New York. Jack, have a fantastic weekend. Everybody have a fun time. We got here our last comment. And Panarin's who are they? That doesn't hurt them in the playoffs, especially when playing a team like Panthers. If Panarin, well, yeah, okay, but if you get more gritty guys around them, that again, it's so hard. Okay, a few things. If you say, okay, you can't win with them in the playoffs, so that means you've got to move them. And Panarin's got a no move clause. I think Zibanejad as well. Kreider would be an easier guy to trade. I mean, again, he now July 1st becomes that guy that's at 15 teams as well, and he's only making like $6.5 million. So other teams go, okay, let me get this straight. We can have Chris Kreider. Like Chris Kreider should be making $9 or $10 million a year. So other teams are going to say, okay, even if you really believe, like a lot of Ranger fans do, that he's not the perfect player because he doesn't show up all the time. But if you get him at $6.5 million, wow, that's still a pretty good value. I mean, so he'd be an easy guy to trade, but then you trade Chris Kreider. I mean, he's a fixture. He's a New York Ranger. I guess if you can get a ton for him, then you think about doing it. And again, you clear up cap space. So that helps you. But again, now you've created a hole in your lineup. So yeah, you think to yourself, those nights where he's not playing that great. But how about the nights where he is playing that great? That's what I'm more focused on, nights where he is playing great and he's a dominant player. Like that period where he scored 3 goals, that's a historic period. That would down. It's up there with, Messier guaranteeing the win and getting a hat trick, with Matteau with his game-winning goal, going way back to Pete Stemkowski with his big goal he scored. That's one of the moments in Ranger. That's top 10 moments in Ranger history. That third period for Kreider, and then now the guy that did it, now you got to trade him. Well, again, because he's really not hurting your cap too. Like as much as another team would want him as that low cap dollar. It's the same thing here. So again, I'd rather, if you got a ton for Kreider, you just say to yourself, I can't turn this down. It's going to help our future so much. But again, you got to make sure that, okay, if the decision is to kind of change the culture, you got to make sure you get the right players for him too, because that's a big move. I mean, that's a move that you look back at like, wow. But everybody have a fantastic weekend. Everybody take care of each other out there. Alexis Lafreniere would get power play time without Kreider. Yes, that's great point. That's another great point that I think really has to happen. It has to be more of a focus, because he's done what it seems. He's done what they've asked him to do. Like he's gotten better. Like those moves, that move he made, that toe drag move, and the backhand goal. I mean, that showed, and it wasn't just that, but that showed that, man, this kid's really arrived. Like this is what they saw in him when they drafted him. Now he's becoming that, but now they got a plan, and that may be the decision too. We got to make room for this kid. You know, do you put Kreider back on the second power play unit, or does that work? I mean, after he's been such a dominant player, does that work to put him back and then put Lafreniere up? Does that create problems in the locker room? I don't know. I'm just throwing all those things out there. So maybe it is one of those things that, you know, you trade a Trouba to make room for Zach Jones. You trade a Kreider to make room for Alex Lafreniere. What's going to happen with Hedl? You know, now you've got those question marks. So we'll see. All right, everybody. You have a fantastic weekend. We'll see everybody on Monday.